Welcome to the premiere episode of the channel. I want to say thanks to Marcy Harper for sharing her story. Shout out to my sponsors 221B Tactical and Paradox Training. Both are great companies. I've taken Paradox Training courses and I wear 221B Tactical apparel and equipment. Enjoy. What does someone who's a photographer and graphic designer carry every day?
Carry every day. I feel like that's a trick question since I work from home.
What do you carry? What do you have on you at all times at home? Is there anything?
My color book I use a lot, my Pantone color book, Pantone matching system for going through colors. My laptop is a big one. That way I can work if I leave the house anywhere I want. And the Adobe programs, Photoshop, Illustrator, Lightroom, InDesign. I think that's the main ones. And my mouse and keyboard. Did that count?
Sure. So if you're working, you carry certain things. And if you're not working, say you're going out to a concert or a show, what do you carry when you're just going out on the town not working?
If I'm going out to a show, I don't bring anything because you can't bring anything.
Okay.
Keys and money. If I'm going out to go hiking or just walk around, I usually have my fanny pack with my Sig in there, knife, phone, keys.
When you say Sig, do you mean cigarettes?
Sig P365, Sig Sauer, handgun.
Where did you grow up and what was your childhood like?
I was born and raised Henderson, Nevada. I tell people I had the best childhood ever. I had the best parents ever. They let us do, my brother and I, they let us do what we wanted, but not without limits, I guess is the best way to say it. There's only desert in front of the house, so we could go exploring that anytime. And we had to listen to the neighbors' parents as well. If they told us something, that was law. But we had a lot of water fights, a lot of hide and seek in the desert, lizard catching, rock scouting. It was a lot of fun. I did burn ants with my thick glasses when I was a kid too.
So you've always had thick glasses and an issue with your eyesight?
Yeah, I was born with cataracts when I was a baby. They were removed at 6 months old, and they tried to put contacts in my eyes as a baby. I was not having it. I was held down a lot so they could try to put them in, and then they finally switched to glasses because they couldn't get the contacts to stay in. It was too much of a burden. And then when I was a little older, I had to wear patches on my eye to help with the lazy eye. My mom, she was very nice. She told me I could draw pictures on them if I wanted to, make me feel better about wearing them.
Can you explain what you see, because you said you had a lazy eye? How does your eyes work, and how would you explain that to someone who may not understand what is happening? Explain it in such a way that anybody can understand what it's like for you with your condition.
My eyes don't work together. Most people have binocular vision. I've got monocular, which is they switch off one at a time. So I'm not seeing through both of them at the same time, which is why one of them will drift off if I'm not using it.
Did you ever go to a doctor to try and get that fixed, or did they try and correct it when you were younger, or anything like that?
My parents didn't want to mess with it. They didn't want me to go through more eye surgeries because it's one that if you get it done, they may have to do it again. And they have to mess with the nerves in your eye to get it to go the right way. My understanding, things could have changed by now. When I was growing up, my parents told me there was nothing wrong with me. It was never an issue. My mother and brother have the same eye issues I have, but it was never a thing in our family.
Understood. Do you feel like it gives you a unique perspective on being a graphic designer and photographer? Does it give you maybe a different viewpoint than someone who has quote unquote normal eyesight?
I feel maybe not as much my eyesight, but how I was treated as a child. I see things that other people don't see, like when others are left out or maybe looked down upon for something they can't change. And as 18, I had another surgery to put lenses in my eyes, because when you have glaucoma, they remove the lenses of your eyes. So putting the lenses back into my eyes would allow me to not have to wear glasses or contacts ever again. That surgery was botched, and I couldn't see out of my eye at all for 9 months. And then I had to get a laser surgery because there's so much scar tissue built up. The way the doctor explained it to me is that it was like a spider web, and when he started to poke holes in it, the rest of it would start to just break away, which happened, but it took a course of 6 months to a year so I could finally see better, and it left me with an astigmatism. But then that brings me back into the color. In one eye, I can see UV light, and the other eye, it's supposed to be blocked by the lens that they implanted. So I see blues and purples vastly differently. So I can see more colors than most people can. So it can help and hurt and distract me.
It has to give you a unique perspective on your art and your photography. Do you agree?
I can agree with that. It takes me a long time to choose colors when I'm building out logos for people, because I want to get the exact right hue. And if I'm seeing more hues than anybody else can, I've got a lot more to go through to match up. But like I mentioned, in the purple and blue is where it stands out the most. Some greens.
And you said that you see UV light. What is that like?
It's really, really bright and intense. I'm not a fan of blacklight art. It's just way too bright for me.
Can you describe, say Halloween comes to mind. Say you go into a typical haunted house where they have a lot of black light. What does that look like to you when you see a room that is totally saturated in that UV?
Under blacklight, I guess, you know how you look at the sun, it's really bright. You have to squint. You can't see things clearly because there's just too much light. With blacklight, it's all purple, but it's really intense for me. Like, I want to put my sunglasses on when I'm around it.
How did you get into your profession of being a graphic designer and photographer? I'm sure people told you because of your eyes, you're going to have setbacks and everything. You must have just said, fuck you, I'm going ahead, I'm going to do this. But how did you get into what you're doing now? Is this something that you always wanted to do, or did you start at one point and take a path and end up here?
I was always creative, wanting to color or make something as a child. I thought I was going to be a fashion designer, but then I had to change schools and they didn't offer those programs anymore. But they did offer a computer graphics one that I took at the community college right next door. So I started taking that, and that led me to just stick with it for 3 years. And towards the end of that senior year, my teacher told me there's going to be a scholarship offered for the Art Institute of Las Vegas, and I should enter. I figured, why not? I already did all these projects throughout the past few years. The only thing I had to do extra was an essay. I completed the essay, turned in all the projects as they requested, printed, whatnot. And I was the only one who turned in all the requirements, so I got the scholarship for half my tuition to be a graphic designer. I didn't think I was ever going to go to college. My parents aren't rich. I thought college was for rich people. So I took every opportunity I got in college. I graduated in 3 years at the age of 21 with my bachelor's, and all I've done is graphic design since then. And that led me to photography. I wanted to take my own photos instead of using stock art.
What other avenues besides just being a photographer have you explored?
Well, while I was a graphic designer, I would watch videos about photography. So that's how I taught myself camera settings and all the different types of photography out there. That led me to taking classes, buying courses, joining PPA, which is Professional Photographers of America, and a women's photography group here in town, Women in Focus. They're a great group. But through PPA, I became a certified professional photographer, which just means I know there's standards that you have to abide by, quality-wise, and treating your clients in a professional manner. I also got my craftsman degree through PPA. I got that through teaching courses and taking classes, just continuing on learning.
So you have a constant desire to get better every day at photography and graphic design, it seems like.
Yeah, my goal as a designer and photographer was just to be better than I was the day before. Maybe learn something specifically in photography. Learn something from every photo shoot that I can improve on. That was always my goal. Since I'm mostly self-taught there, of course I've taken classes, but I didn't go through the typical degree program at all. So I felt like I had to prove myself more. But that ended up turning out really well because now I'm teaching at Lincoln County, their photo festival every year. And UNLV, I have been teaching a continuing education program.
What are some of the hardships that come to mind that you've encountered on your journey to where you are right now?
Definitely when someone's trying to show me something on the computer, I have to be right up in their face or I'm not able to see it very well. When students have issues with their cameras, I found a way to work with that, but I can't see small objects when they're trying to show me their menus. Sometimes I don't see smaller designs too if it's too subtle. So a lot of my designs are really clean and bold colors. I've developed that with my eyesight, I guess.
Where do you see yourself or want to be in 10 years?
I already have my own business, but working in my business all the time, just doing really creative stuff. Maybe having a few people that are working alongside me or under me to take on the smaller jobs. That way I can do the more creative stuff that really excites me, and traveling more.
If you could sum up your art and photography in a brief sentence or paragraph, what would you say?
Like style?
Anything that you want.
To sum up my designs and photography, I would say my style is bold, clean. I love saturated colors. I like to see a lot of depth in a photo too. I don't shoot wide open. I just want to see all those details.
Is there anything you would like to pass along to someone who might have a condition like yours that feels like they can't get ahead, or people are telling them that they can't do what they want to do, they can't be a photographer, they can't be who they want to be? Is there something you would want to tell somebody, or let's say that you want to tell your younger self? If there's something you could tell your younger self to get to where you are now, what would that be?
I'd tell myself to start the business sooner. And I would also tell myself it doesn't matter what they think, because nobody worth anything is going to ever look down on you. Being consistent matters more than being great. Showing up, doing a good job, and keeping your word are worth more than your work quality. Of course, you want that to be good and always improving, but just show up, do your best.
Thank you a lot for doing this. I really appreciate it.
Thanks.